And if you never did that to me, that just, I mean, I might as well be your fucking staff. And we know I'm not getting paid to be your fucking staff. So that's not, it doesn't work for me. Welcome back to Simply Karafying, and I am the host, Kara. Of course, if you're new here, we have tons of videos to go through, but today we are focusing on communication. Something that should be so simple and a lifeline in a lot of relationships. Let's be honest, every relationship. It's very crucial point of surviving, period. All right? Like, if life was naked and afraid, and you didn't have any way, solid form of communication, basically you might as well just lay down and just be done. Just be done. All right, that's a bit extreme. But for all intents and purposes, it wouldn't be an episode if I didn't fucking stumble. But anyway, all right. Communication. Why it's important, especially between couples, okay? So many people start out so strong in the beginning. Why? Why? Look at your significant other. This is just something that these are conversations that I have again and again and again, especially with people who have been in like 8+ years, 10+ years, 15+ years. They get to a point where everything's a little bit stale or too comfortable or too normal. It's almost like both parties are consistent but bored, but nobody fucking says anything. So here's the deal. Communication, all right? If you're feeling a certain way and I'm obviously oblivious, the only way I'm going to know what it is you're feeling or thinking is if you tell me, okay? If you talk to me and relay those feelings, period, right? Because if you just do it in every other way, right? If you start doing things differently, if you start, your body language starts getting a little off, if you start throwing tantrums or you get an attitude or just like if you start changing everything else about you except opening your mouth and telling me, that leads me to assume, right? Then I have to go through my mental catalog and be like, what did I do to piss this person off? What have I done differently to set this off? Like, you go through all of these unnecessary steps when it could be as simple as, this is you, this is me, this is my problem, I'm listening. Worst case, I don't really love what you say, but I can't shut you down because you're entitled to feel whatever it is the fuck you want to feel. Same as me. So, when two people get together, in the beginning, there's something that brings them together. There's something, whether it was how they looked, how they talked, what they did, like something drew that person to you, right? Your significant other or whoever. What got you to trigger that emotion in the first place? Like, what made you be like, that's the one? That's the one right there. And then you remember how it was in the beginning. The butterflies and the touchy-feely and the da-da-da. When they're gone, you miss them. So now think, when did those feelings stop? Why? Was it something that happened? Was it like a big life change? Was it just the flame kind of burned out? Was it, really exciting in the beginning? And then once, things were had, then it's just like, and now it's just like we're just kind of coexisting. Like, a lot of people don't think about when it started to happen. And some people, they'll tell me that that's just how that person is. Okay, but is that how you are? Because if this person is how they are and you're like you are, who changed? Because if this is who they are, this is who you are, but now you have a problem with how they are, what changed? And why is it easy to talk to me, but not that person? Because most cases, you've known me a hell of a lot less, and yet you can tell me things, but you can't tell the person that you sleep next to every night. That would be a problem for me. Okay? Basically, there are some things sometimes that we just don't want to hear. Fine. However, to not have any kind of healthy communication in a relationship, I don't even know. I couldn't do it. I mean, I'm a talker anyway, and I'm also somebody who can't stand like the awkwardness, right? Now, let's not confuse it. I can be in a room and be quiet. Okay? I can do that. I promise you I can do that. Don't always like it, but I can do that. But when the mood is different and that causes the quiet, uh, if I know it has nothing to do with me, for one, like, I'm going to figure that out. I'm going to crack that code. You know, maybe it's somebody having an issue at work. Maybe it's somebody who, something didn't go right with a family member. Maybe they're just trying to stoically hold on to something that's bugging them and they don't want to burden me with their problems. Give me a break. Duh. Like, in my case, I'm married. So, like, your problems are my problems. Like, if I need to get a bat and go visit somebody, you just let me know. I mean, it hasn't come to that, but like, the offer is always there. You know what I mean? That's how it is. Okay. So, communication is considered the foundational lifeline of any healthy relationship. All right. It's a primary tool couples use to build trust, resolve unavoidable conflicts, and maintain emotional intimacy over time. Now, people can say, I mean, I talk to them every day. I say, I love you. We, hello, goodbye. How was work? Okay. That's small talk. Okay. You can small talk with anybody. Your fucking mailman hangs out when you're outside and you could probably get his day story too. You know what I mean? It's not the same though. Conflict resolution is a big one. And not a lot of couples like to do that because that means they have to actually see this problem head on. And if they're part of it, that makes them want to not do that. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people, for some reason, it's deny, deny, deny. Let's sweep it under the rug. Okay, I'll do better next time. I just don't bring it up. If you don't know, like, the perk of bringing up this conflict, right, is that both of you are staring it in the face. Both of you get to shine the light on whatever it was that made it a conflict in the first place. And then, if you do that clearly with each other, chances are it's not going to happen again. Or when you start to see the signs of it happening again, whatever it is, you can be like, hold on, we've been here, we've done this. No. Okay. So without that kind of open communication, without that, like, seriously comfortable open talk, small things can irritate the fuck out of you. And small things can turn into huge things. You know what I'm talking about. Okay. I know that a good amount of people have been irritated at someone because they feel a certain way. They don't talk about it, but they feel a certain way, and then that person who's already on that nerve does something else, whether it throws something away and it didn't make the trash can, or what the fuck, it's something small. And that just fucking grinds. It gets in there and it turns into this huge fucking, like, snapped fest. Totally avoidable. All right? Totally avoidable. Healthy communication allows couples to navigate differences and find common ground rather than attacking each other's character. Okay? So instead of like, wow, you suck at throwing and you made it in the garbage, you're a fucking pig, blah, 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 blah. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Go pick that shit up. Why do you always do this to me? You're such a bastard. Like, they threw something at the trash, it didn't make it in. But somehow that instance turned into all that. And here's the thing about words. The mean words, I mean, we did an episode on this too. But your brain holds on to negative shit a hell of a lot longer than it does positive stuff, okay? So those words, even if they just slipped out in the moment or whatever, those words that person heard, they're in there now. They are there. They are stored in a special place. Doesn't mean it's good, but they're stored in a special place. And so the next time that something happens, those are going to flash forward. And that's not what you're wanting to do. All right? That's not it. By the way, we do new episodes every Friday. So if this is hitting you like in a good way and you want to keep this conversation going or see what's coming new, make sure to like, follow, subscribe so that you can be part of this as we keep going because we cover all kinds of things like this. So building trust and safety. Openly sharing thoughts and vulnerabilities creates emotional safety. This transparency fosters a secure environment where patterns feel respected and valued. Yes, you should be able to tell your partner anything, everything. Like, you should be able to run to that person with whatever you want to say. You shouldn't have to be like, hold on, should I change the story? Should I change the name of this person, or where it happened, or how many people were involved, or like, should I alter the story? Like, that shouldn't even be a thing. Because if you have to take a second to build a story or change a story, that's fucked up. That's fucked up. So, clear communication also prevents misunderstandings, right? It eliminates the need to have to mind read, which leads to assumptions, which usually leads to even more bad feelings and, gross. Since couples often suffer from an illusion of insight, right? Believing that they understand their partner better than they actually do, right? Just because you've been with somebody. Now, here's the thing. That's a good one. Here's the thing. I've been with my husband for 23 years. I know some, people who have been together for 20 plus years. I know that I can say that I really do know my husband, and my husband really does know me. I know other people that can say that, but it's not true. Okay? Because they're just not as invested as we are. And that's not a cocky situation. That's just like a fact. Because just because you've been with I don't care if you've been with someone for fucking 30 years. All right? There is a consistency in communication with myself and him that I know doesn't exist in every other house. Okay? A lot of houses do, and that's fantastic. I wish it was like a reality for everyone. I really do. I know that it's not. And when, when someone says that they believe they know somebody just because they've been together with them this long, and then you actually like go off of that and ask them a question and be like, okay, so then what? And then they fucking stumble. They remember that shit too. And it's not great, but you shouldn't even try to put yourself out there and talk about it when you don't even talk to each other. You know what I mean? It's not. Relationship satisfaction, believe it or not, research indicates a strong link between communication quality and overall happiness. Right? Okay. So, for example, if my husband got home, sat his ass on the couch, ate his dinner that I just cooked, said hey to the kids, whatever, said hey to me, gave me a kiss, and then watched a show for an hour and a half before he ditched out, went and got a shower, goes and plays video games, and like that was my life. No, I don't think so. It doesn't work for me. Not at all. Nope. No, because I consistently ask about your day, and if you never did that to me, that just, I might as well be your fucking staff, and we know I'm not getting paid to be your fucking staff, so it doesn't work for me. And I think that checking in like through the day, hey, how you doing? It's just like those gut feelings too. Like if I know that my husband has like a tough meeting or something and I know about what time it is, all right, I might send him a text message like, hey, have a good day, or hey, how was your meeting? Blah, blah, blah. It lets him know that first off, I was listening, right? Paying attention to what he was talking about, and that I care. Like if he was a bundle of nerves going in, I feel that. I feel that. I don't want you to feel like you're alone or that, I think your work is boring or stressful or your problem. No. We're on the same page. But just like, you expect to hear about all the crazy shit that happened with me, like today. I called him because there was a car parked at the end of my driveway, and keep in mind, I'd already called him and said, hey, we got kid games and shit later and blah, blah, blah. This is when you need to be home, all that good stuff. But I tell him about this stranger that's parked at the end of my driveway. And don't know why she's parked at the end of the driveway, but I go out there and it's because she's got a fucking spider in her car. And she called her husband to come help her, because she hit it with the umbrella and wasn't sure it was dead, but all this stuff. And so anyway, long story short, I find the spider, I killed it, I saved her. She said it. She said, thank you for saving me. So like I call him and tell him that. Did it matter? Like, did it change anybody, did it change our life or anything? Did it need to be said? No, but it's like, it's just something funny that happened, something random that happened, and like, he just should know to me. So it's just, I don't have to double think it. I don't care if he thinks it's stupid or funny. Like, it happened. I called, said, hey. So, all right. Healthy communication. How do we get there? All right. It's more than just talking. I'm a talker. I can talk about anything to anyone, doesn't matter. But that could be very empty. Could be a lot of bullshit. So how do you take communication and turn it into healthy, genuine communication with you and your partner? All right. Active listening. You cannot just have one person that is fully engaged in the conversation with the other person while the person that's telling the story can fucking shut his ears off, her ears off, whatever, whenever they feel like it. So they can talk and tell the story, but they can't fucking listen to anything. That does not work. No. Active listening. Okay? Both parties. Both parties. They both have lives. They've both had days. Things happen. Now, I get it. Sometimes days can go and nothing happens, and that's totally fine. But there are even small, stupid things, like the spider story. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to have a significant weight to it, but you should be able to tell something to someone and know that they're going to at least hear you in that moment. Do they have to remember it? No. Like, who cares if they ever think about it again if it's something small, you know what I mean? But if you can be fully engaged and turned on and listen to every fucking detail of one person tell their story, and then you turn around and tell a story, and then they're like, and then that's it, give me a fucking break. No one wants to deal with that. That's not right. That's not fair. That's definitely not a healthy situation. Okay, that's garbage. All right, I statements. Doesn't make sense, right? Here we go. Expressing needs and feelings through I statements instead of you statements. I'm going to tell you. All right. So I statements, well, we'll do the you first. You statements tend to be accusatory, like, you never spend time with me, or you're a fucking pig. Okay? Instead, use I statements like, I feel kind of lonely when it's just me here, and then you get home and you sit way over there, get on your phone, and don't do anything with me. You're saying the thing without being the asshole and being like, you're a motherfucker who doesn't spend time with me. You never spend time with me. You're saying the same thing in a very different way, right? She doesn't have to unwrap what you're saying and dissect it and look for the feelings. You're just saying the feelings. I feel lonely. Nobody likes to feel lonely. That is not one of the positive feelings. So, like, if they're actively listening, they will hear that. And in a good relationship, it should change. Okay? So instead of you're a fucking pig, I'm really overwhelmed with the amount of stuff or the mess and stuff like that. It's telling them in a different way. Because especially if you've done the you statements a lot, that shit's toned out. You know it is. You know what I mean? Have you ever said something again and again and again and wonder why it just doesn't fucking change? Well, they're holding on to that and it's pushed back and it's just on repeat and it's like, but they're not actively listening to you, so whatever. All right, nonverbal cues. Recognizing that tone of voice, body language, and facial expressions often convey more meaning than actual words used. That is something my husband and I are pretty solid on that, okay? He can tell if I'm off by how quiet I am, how I'm sitting, how I'm doing anything. And he's the same way, Because, dude, I've been with you for over 2 decades, okay? I know when you're totally chill, and I know when you're tense, and I know when you're pissed, and all this stuff. Like, you show it, okay? Even if it's not like, I mean, I could have a friend over And he could leave the room and be like, oh man, yeah, something's going on. Oh, you seem normal to me. Well, you don't know him. So, all right. Emotional regulation. Very important, though, to pay attention to those. People who, have that good communication and stuff, that solid situation, they notice things like that. And that's important, right? So, emotional regulation. Learning to soothe oneself before approaching a difficult conversation to avoid reacting out of anger or fear. My younger years, anger, fear, I didn't care. If I was being accused of something or yelled at or whatever the fuck, however arguments started, boy, if I was pissed off because I just knew that I was right, that was all that mattered. Pride was the big one. Now, I've learned to appreciate being silent, okay? Because you're right, a lot can be said without any words, okay? And I figured that it saves, and this isn't just my husband, this is anybody that kind of pushes my buttons, family or irritating people, it doesn't matter. My silence makes people scramble, okay? It makes them really shift and wonder and, really double check their own shit, especially if it has something to do with me, because I've learned that the important things that matter, that are worth fighting, I mean, honestly, a lot of it's not. A lot of it's not worth my stress, my anxiety, my this, that, whatever. Like, I'm not going to lose sleep over something stupid and small. Not anymore. Like, I don't know if that just comes with age or you just hit a level where you max out and you're like, all right, well, hey, fuck it. But yeah. All right. So learn to do that. Count to 10, take a minute. Let's just kind of like breathe. And if it's always better to be more quiet than the loudest person in the room. Never want to be the loudest person in the room. I used to think that, hey, okay, that loud person, okay, they mean business. No, usually the loudest person has the least amount to say. They're just trying to like puff up and nah, they're just, nah. So it's not the only factor to a successful relationship, right? And the other hard part, especially when I have people talking to me, is with people that have been together with someone for years and years and years. How can they start healthy communication if it's obviously been lacking this entire time? Like, wouldn't it just be easier to start over with someone new? I mean, would it? If there's no reason to hold on to this person, I mean, that's a different situation. But communication can be broached, you know what I mean? It can be started, both parties have to want to do it, okay? So immediate steps, starting over. So you acknowledge the shift together, okay? If there's a certain situation that started the lack of communication, this is where we come on, conflict resolution. You put that bitch right in your eye line, both of you. You acknowledge it, naming it without blaming either one. Like, you've obviously gotten through whatever it is because you're still together. Okay, so if it was something significant like that, but, you can pronounce things like, I feel like we're missing each other lately. I feel like we're not the same people. I feel like I want to talk more. I feel like I want to work on communicating better. The thing is, it has to take somebody. It takes somebody to make that first step. Any hard thing you do, it's that one first step that's the hardest to do, but has to be done if it's something that you really want. So, repairing the past. A new start often requires clarifying old misunderstandings. The past is the past, I understand. But if something happened in the past and it was never really face on dealt with, it needs to be dealt with. You know what I mean? And things need to be said out loud. And when you confront the past with this person, if moving on doesn't make sense, then don't go through the motions. Because life's too short to be stuck in a meh relationship where you can't have that open communication and stuff with. It really is. It's not okay to just be okay all the time. Nobody wants that. Nobody sat in the room as a kid and be like, I can't wait to just be okay one day. No. I mean, I'm sure there are movies about it, but no. Okay? Schedule relationship check-ins. This is a nice, easy way, right? Just do a date night. Have a sit down. Have a show you guys watch together or a dinner night, like whatever. If you're that jam packed where you can't sit there every single night and have full on conversations or like check in through the day or whatever, don't wait for something huge and catastrophic to build up to where you have to have a conversation or you might hurt each other. You know what I mean? Like, don't wait for it. Don't wait for the boil over moment. All right? Like, have these little talks, even if it's little annoyances. They don't know what you're thinking if you never say it out loud. Not really. Okay? Not really. You could be totally irritated and it has nothing to do with the person at home. But it could still affect how you are with that person at home. So why not stay? Practice the soft startup. Difficult conversations usually end how they begin. So if you go in kicking, screaming, whatever, pissed off, fucking smoke coming out of the ears and nostrils, you just turn into this fucking monster, probably going to end that way. Because nothing that other person says is going to make you feel better. It's only going to fuel your fire, and you're just already there. It's very hard to go in and then come out. It just doesn't happen like that. However, if you go in calm, soft, chiller than that, you definitely get a different outcome. Okay? Because you can have the same conversation with two people. If you're screaming or yelling at this person, telling the same story, and then you're just talking normal and calm and whatever to this person that you talk calm to is going to have a way better outcome and experience with that whole situation. The other one is going to be wrapped up in their feelings and defensive and everything, even if they have nothing to do with it. It's the delivery. All right? It's the delivery. So, active listening, using I statements, slow down the conversation if you need to. If things escalate or things are getting emotionally flooded during these tough talks, okay, if you haven't had any in a long time, ask for a pause. Take a breath. Just breathe. Calm down. It's really not that hard. All of this may seem like a lot of steps. It's really a common sense situation, okay? Like the I statements. Some people are going to give the eye roll because like, oh yeah, sure, that really works. Well, I know that if he came in and the laundry wasn't done and he's like, you never do the fucking laundry. Like there's shit everywhere. This is ridiculous. Are you ever going to do that? That immediately gets me on the defensive because, in my situation, it'd be like, listen, motherfucker, I've had this, and this to do today. Why don't you do the fucking laundry? It's fucking laundry. That's like clothes. If he were to say, I feel like we should just get these clothes folded out of the way, whatever. My husband would never fucking say that. But if he did, it'd be like, okay. So I can see it stresses you out a little bit. Like I've had a little bit of a crazy day, but all right, let's knock it out. Or I'll get on it first thing tomorrow or whatever. You know what I mean? You go in how you want to come out. That's how it is. So I understand that communicating is hard, especially if you have rocky bumps in your past that you don't want to come up or that you've somewhat faced head on. I promise you, it's worth all of the uncomfort to get to that comfortable spot. Totally. Because there's no fucking way I could ever just be okay with just nodding along and then dying inside because I didn't have someone to really openly talk to. No boundaries, no wonderings, like no freeness to just open my mouth and bleh, whatever the fuck I felt like. So I get that it can be hard, but nothing is impossible. Everything is figure outable and everything will be okay. So it does take somebody though to take that first step. So if you're having an issue with communication, and if any of this hit a nerve or anything, I mean, good. Absolutely good. I hope you all have a great day and check in with us next time. Have a good one.